Hey guys, welcome back to Jessica Jones Reviews. We're here to talk about episode 5, aka The Sandwich Saved Me. What? Just a great name for an episode. I know I've been kind of stalling on these, and trust me, I want to get through them because I want to watch the rest of this show, and I've been trying to resist the urge not to watch it until I can properly review it. But I'm working on that. And unfortunately, my laptop crashed not too long ago, and I lost all my footage, and I lost all the editing software, so really, you'll probably see a lot more episodes of these because I don't have editing software to make other stuff. So be prepared for a lot more Jessica Jones in the near future. Anyway, Jessica Jones, episode 5. It's good. I mean, it's not the best. I think this is probably my least favorite episode of the bunch because it is very exposition heavy. It does feel much like it's trying to cram a lot of answers about Jessica Jones' backstory into this episode. And some of it works, but at the same time it also feels kind of, I don't want to say distracting, but it just doesn't feel as interesting as as the other stuff we got going on in the other episodes. So, let me get a very brief overview of this episode. This episode, it kind of goes right after the review of the last episode, where now Jessica Jones is stalking Malcolm to find out how he knows Kilgrave and where he meets Kilgrave, and basically using that with Trish and, I'm just going to call him Nuke. With Trish and Nuke to kind of figure out how they're gonna capture Kilgrave, how they're gonna lock him up, and they have come this very elaborate plan. I will give Nuke credit. Nuke really kind of shines more in this episode. He does shine more as a character. He does reveal more about kind of who he is, and you kind of see those, for lack of a better word, Nuke-y parts of his personality. And okay, yeah, I can definitely see that character in him now, and he plays it very well. In between that, though, like, when that happens and when they eventually do get to Kilgrave, which does happen in this episode, you get these flashbacks to, Jessica before she met Kilgrave, and kind of, like, up to that, you kind of get an idea who she was before that point, so you have a better idea of kind of, the damage that that Kilgrave did to her. And there are a lot of things I like about this. I like the fact that they don't present her as sunshine and rainbows. They could have very easily gone that route, but no, she still has attitude. She still tends to piss off everyone around her. But at the same time, she also does seem a little happier, or at least more confident in herself. And then you get that with a stark contrast of who she is now, and she is very, very insecure. I don't want to say insecure, but she just looks damaged, and she looks like she went through hell. And I like that contrast. The contrast works. It's just enough of a difference that you can tell. But it's not overt. It doesn't beat you over the head with it. It lets her present it the way it is. There's also a lot of fun nods to the comic books in this one. Like, in the beginning of the episode... Oh, right, I should finish my synopsis first. So anyway, so those flashbacks happen. Meanwhile, Jessica Jones learns Kilgrave's method and his pattern with Kilgrave, and they hatch this plan to capture him, and they eventually succeed in that plan. And but unfortunately, shit goes wrong, and an action scene happens, and Kilgrave is rescued from his kidnappers, who is the hero of the show. It's kind of weird when I say it out loud, but so that happens, and then meanwhile, Jessica Jones takes Malcolm and basically locks him in her bathroom and try to convince him to get off Kilgrave's influence as well as get off drugs and all that stuff. And there's some very nice scenes involving that. And then the episode ends, which is easily the best scene in the episode, with Kilgrave just straight up calling Jessica Jones now that he knows that she's on to him and that she's very well aware of his existence, and he's strangely and very creepily excited by that. And he calls her up and basically says, okay, I'll leave Malcolm alone, but you have to send me pictures from now on. And just, again, starts exuding that control. It's easily the best part of the episode because, again, it's finally gets some more David Tennant as Purple Man, and David Tennant's great. I'm sorry, still getting over this fucking cold, which is leaning for a month now. It's really bumming the shit me, but anyway, I digress. Okay, so let me talk about what did work in this episode. I did like about episode, I did like the flashbacks to an extent. I liked the nods to the comics they had. I thought, she wore, a white jacket with some purple stuff on it in the beginning of the episode. I thought it was a nod to her original costume. That is until they actually just showed the costume, straight up, when I guess Jessica Jones was contemplating being a superhero. It's oh, you should wear this. You should call yourself Jewel. I was okay, that was a fun little nod to the comic book. There's even a fun little nod. I guess it's not really a fun nod because the context of the scene is actually very disturbing. when Kilgrave meets Jessica Jones for the first time, and he just goes, "Oh, that's exciting. What's your name?" She goes, "Jessica Jones." He goes, "Oh, not that. What's your superhero name? You gotta have one, right?" He goes, No, just Jessica Jones," which is a nod to the comic books. In the comic books, Kilgrave asks her what her name is, but in the comic book, she actually is Jules. She does have the silly costume on. And Kilgrave, "What's your name?" She says, "Jules." Like, "No, not that. What's your actual name?" So it's like, okay, that's a fun little. I have a hard time calling that fun because it isn't basically involving a rapist, but I digress. I like that the show knows how to slowly wean David Tennant as the Purple Man into the show, because at this point it is not needed to show him too much for you to get his abilities, for you to get his influence over other people. It's been used very sparse, and it's done deliberately. And this is really the most we've seen him so far, and I think it's been very smart in doing that. Because by the point he actually starts talking to Jessica in this episode, you feel his control, and you felt his control all the way through the series up to this point, while being on the screen very little. So actually seeing him do it directly amps the stakes up just enough. And it's very cool, it's very creepy, and again, it just shows you just how influence he has over Jessica Jones while barely even really trying to have it. And I'm also very curious to see how his dynamic is Jessica Jones, because when he calls her, he has this great line where he goes, when she doesn't say anything back to him, he's doing all the talking, and he's wondering why she didn't say anything to him, and he just goes, "Oh, you're mad about the junkie," as if he doesn't realize everything else horrible he's done rolled up to this point. I think it's really smart. I think it's really clever, and it kind of goes into the mind of these abusive people. And I thought that was really smart. I was like, oh, that's fucking brilliant. Okay, here's what I didn't like. Again, I feel like the flashback in this episode really kind of slowed down the pace a bit. There's still quite a bit with some characters. I don't really know where they're going with it yet. Like that weird ancestral brother guy who has the hots for Jessica Jones. I keep bringing him back, and I just don't see them really doing anything interesting with that. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll surprise me. Because right now it's like, okay, it just feels like another character on top of a lot of other characters the show is also balancing. I feel like this show kind of starts its wear and tear a little bit with just how many characters it's trying to balance here. And I'm hoping they'll pull it off. So far they have, with only like a few exceptions, but like, I don't know, there's a lot going on with these characters. I'm a little worried it's going to kind of fall apart in itself trying to balance them all. But, I also... I mean, like, the show up to this point has never been too much about the action scenes. That was much more Daredevil's biz. And it hasn't been too much of a problem up to this point, because the emphasis has not been on the action sequences. But this is like the first episode that had a really big action sequence toward the end, and it felt really clunky. It did feel like it was, like, that's where I feel like the show showed its major weaknesses. It showed, like, okay, the choreography is not the best. I feel like it doesn't quite know what to do with Jessica's power set in an actual fight. Sorry. I feel like, I don't know, it's like the lack of music and the camera angles weren't that great and the lighting was kind of a little awkward too. It just felt kind of off, and it felt kind of off to the theme of the show. I take it back. They had some really good action sequences in the show, like the one in the penthouse, which was really good. So it's like the one that I feel like the weakest, and it felt out of place, and it kind of takes you out of the moment, just how awkward it feels. It feels like Jessica Jones is taken on easier than she should have been. I don't know. Maybe they should have put some music to it. I don't really know what they could have done to improve that. But, yeah, either way, like I say, this is one of the weak runs of the show. It's a necessary episode because it sets things, like, it kind of tells you the backstory a bit more, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I don't know. A lot of it felt kind of clunky, and it didn't quite work the way I wanted to. But stuff Malcolm was good. I like his own kind of arc he's got going on. I like that they did add more depth to him and his whole trial of, like, actually choosing to reject the drugs because he wants to kind of aid Jessica Jones in her war against Kilgrave, while also being kind of simultaneously controlled by him as well. There's a very interesting dynamic with that going on, and I want to see where that's going, and I kind of understand this episode is kind of a necessity, but if I have to rank the episodes, this one's kind of low down there. This one's kind of disappointing, but let's see if they pick up on the next episode. So, yeah, thanks a lot for this one. So, yeah, let's check out episode 6, see what we got.